So this is a question about long-term care. What is self-insured long-term care, and what are the benefits of being self-insured over a policy, just a standard long-term care policy, or a rider on a universal whole life insurance policy?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. It's kind of fun to dig through this. So here's how I look at it. If I take your financial plan and I run Monte Carlo simulation and it is successful, so it's at least 85% of the Monte Carlo simulation, uh, you know, success rate is 85% or higher. Uh, and that's great. And then if I go in and I push the button to add long-term care costs, let's say you or your spouse goes into long-term care, costs X amount per year, and you go in for X number of years. And sometimes I'll be pretty aggressive with that. If you're still at 85% or higher on your success rate, even with that potential outcome, I consider that self-insured. This means that your overall situation financially could absorb that scenario and still have a very high probability of success. So that's self-insured. Now, what if I push in the long-term care for somebody and it doesn't work? It drops them back into the 40% range or something, probability of success. What that means is that that couple or person is very susceptible to the possibility of long-term care really, really messing up their financial future. And so those people need to be looking at a policy to kind of ensure that. It's the same thing, got a $1 million house that gets wiped out in some natural disaster, you know, we insure those because it's kind of a big deal trying to replace that. And that's a big asset we're trying to protect, those types of things. So this would be one of those ways that you could do that is to have that long-term care insurance policies. There's lots of different kinds. There's portions that have a whole life built in. They can go the other way. There are whole life policies that have a long-term care rider built in, and there's a million different ways of doing it. But first and foremost, figuring out whether you need it or not, I think is important. Now, sometimes I run into people, and it's not that uncommon actually, where they don't need it. They're self-insured, but they want it. It just makes them feel better, and they want to make sure that, if it happens to them, that it's just more insured. Now, these are people that can afford it because their plan is very well designed in terms of their probability of success is very high. And so I do have quite a few people that have long-term care insurance policies that don't need it, at least from a self-insured standpoint. But that's just sort of a different thing. They like insurance. They want to make sure things are covered. And a long-term care insurance policy can actually be a good investment if you actually need it. So, for example, if I had to pay $6,000 a year for 10 years, I paid $60,000 into that, and I had a long-term care insurance policy that would pay out $300,000 max, some kind of cap. I'm making these numbers up, but obviously that's a good investment. I put in 60 and then it paid 300 out. Right, that works. But as with most insurance, I've paid for lots of different insurances that I've never used, and I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. But that could happen with long-term care also. I paid that 60 and then got run over by a bus. I didn't need the long-term care insurance, and so that it just. But that's part of the picture for those people that do end up using it. They become good investments in that regards. And so I do have some clients right now drawing off some long-term care insurance policies. They're glad they have them, and so that's an issue as far as that goes.
Yeah, and so peace of mind is really key when it comes to these kind of policies too. If you sleep better at night, paying that extra little premium for long-term care policy, that's worthwhile.
Yep, yep, yeah. I like and I happen to have a lot of insurance myself. And it makes me feel good. And so I kind of, I have a weird way of looking at it. When I spend money to go to Hawaii, one of my favorite places, I go there because it makes me feel good, and I feel good when I get back. And I like Hawaii for whatever reason. And, it's the same thing with insurance for me. The insurance that I have, flood and earthquake and house insurance, car insurance, I have big umbrellas. I don't know. It just makes me feel good. And I know it's expensive. I probably, have been wasting my money to a certain degree, but there is an aspect of it that I think is important just from mental well-being. I like knowing that, what I have built up here, I can try to protect. And so long-term care insurance would be really trying to protect that asset base, and or a spouse who is still at home, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's an interesting area, but it's a little bit personal as to how people look at that. And, everybody's a little different there.